Hey guys, welcome to the first podcast of this channel, and today we are here with a filmmaker named Raj Amit Kumar, who made his directional debut with a film called Unfreedom, which came back in 2015 with a wide critical acclaim but eventually got banned in India due to censorship laws. Having worked with National Award winning cinematographer Hariner and Oscar winning sound designer Resul Pookutty, he is on his way to make his next release, a movie called Brown, which focuses on an immigrant's life in America. Even though Unfreedom is banned in India, you can watch it on Netflix. And if you haven't become a part of Paradigm Unshifted community yet, please do subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon to receive more updates. Thank you for joining and taking out your time at a Sunday night, and thank you for being with us.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, so sir, how has been your filmmaking journey till now? Like, what inspired you to be a filmmaker?
What is? I guess big screen inspired a lot of young kids in India, and I must have been no different than that. And so it's the larger than life uh, sort of cinema that it is in India. And when you're growing up in a small town, the attraction that is towards it, I think the seeds must have been there from it. So and but as you grow up, it kind of changes. It's just not an attraction, and it turns into something else. So there were experiences in terms of watching certain films and being really really excited about the impact of cinema on us, and then sort of asking yourself like, well, maybe this is what you want to do.
So you graduated from a College of Staten Island, I guess, right? In New
Yeah, I
York.
did my master's from there, and
Masters
I
from there.
and I did my PhD coursework from Southern Illinois University,
Yeah.
Carbondale. Yeah.
Yeah. So how is that education process in terms of creativity different from that in India? If you have like experienced both of them, and how does that matter in terms of an aspiring filmmaker?
I
Have
mean,
you?
I didn't study filmmaking in India, so I cannot compare. But if you ask my suggestion for any aspiring filmmakers, I today like to say that don't go to the film school. If you spend that much time and energy and years going to a film school, you rather make a film, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's no better film school than making a film.
Yeah.
So for me as well, um, you know all those years in film school were one thing, and when I made my first feature film, that was something else, right? So I think my actual film school was making Unfreedom. So that's what I like to say to any young aspiring filmmaker, that if you have an option, and I guess there are too many options today in terms of just wanting to make a film. There are cell phones sitting here, and you can go ahead and
Yeah.
shoot, right? You can make a feature film with very little today. So I guess you should just try to put a story together and see if you can make that happen. In terms of studies, I mean, they never end. The learning experience never end, right? I mean, we are learning all the time, and there are so many ways to learn about cinema that's available. You don't really have to go to film school for that. So
Yeah.
I recommend, don't waste your time.
Yeah. So you emphasize more on practical implementation rather than theoretical, because it's ultimately what you do on field that matters, right? Rather than going by the bookish knowledge and all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is no theory unless you have implemented it, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have used it, applied it, and experience what it does for you, right? I don't know if there is any theory that makes any sense. I mean, you want to make films, right? You're not like film critics who will sit in a coffee bar or on a party having wine and having conversation about this is cinema and that is cinema and this filmmaker is that great and that filmmaker is that great because of this and that reason.
Yeah.
I mean, that's if that's what you want to do, go ahead, read all kind of theoretical stuff. But if your goal is to make cinema, then just go ahead and make cinema, and I guess practically doing it will really show you what works for you. I'm not saying that don't study great filmmakers. I'm not saying don't study all kind of cinema. I mean, if you really want to study cinema, it's just like you watch films from all around the world from all kinds of filmmakers in all different genres, and you see, compare, you see how they're constructed, you make sense of it and apply it, right? I don't know if theoretically, reading about cinema in books does much. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So coming to the practical implementation, like what's your storytelling process? Like I saw Unfreedom like 3 times. First was like when I was like in college or something. So the second time it came on Netflix, and that was like we started talking then. And like I had been an intern in your movie, and that's when I first saw it. And after that, I saw it as a filmmaker, I think. So what are the editing techniques used in there? Like what is the structure made out of film? Like what is the structure in there and all? So what is your process of like thought process behind it? I mean, how did you get to an idea and then refine it and renovate it?
I think, I think it will always depend on the film you're making, right? It changes with the story you're telling, or not telling any story at all, right? I mean, it's like it depends on the film. If I talk about Unfreedom, uh, Unfreedom, the idea started from a place that I wanted to show how identities are boxed into perceptions
Yeah.
by people, and then because of that perception about certain identity, how do we inflict violence on those identities?
Right.
And so for me, this was the concept, right? I didn't say, when the idea struck me, that was the idea struck me, that's what I want to make a film about. It didn't, idea wasn't that let's make a film about Muslim fundamentalism, or make a film about, sort of the LGBT struggle in India. That was not the idea. Though the two stories that are in the film, the one takes place in New York, is about this sort of fundamentalist Muslim who's gone out to kidnap and butcher a liberal Muslim scholar. And then on the New Delhi side, the story is this. Uh, there is this sort of, can I say her fundamentalist lesbian? Can I dare to say that? But somebody who is sort of very 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 sort of uh, clear about that, even in that identity, very clear about that identity. And then you have her bisexual lover, who is sort of, and she kidnaps her, in the other side of the story, and what happens there. So I mean, these were two different identities. So that happened from the place because I wanted to tell a story about how identities are boxed and violence is inflicted in them, and how that is a global phenomenon, right? That's what I want to make a film about. So if I would have picked only one identity, then I would have ended up, rather than making a film about my core idea, it would have become a film about LGBT issues, or it would have become a film about Muslim identities, and that was not the core goal. So the film was about Unfreedom, and that's why it's called Unfreedom. And so process for Unfreedom started from there, with that germinating thought, and then I asked myself which identities I see this thing happening more and more, and in my personal experience, right? Because you have to then draw upon what you know of the best. So then I made the choice to pick these two identities in these two geographical locations. So I mean, I guess that's where it starts from, and then when you're going to construct your film, I guess that's how you're going to then start constructing your overall structure of your film, because that's the idea. So then I would have to cut back and forth, create parallels. So all the parallel characters were created on two sides, where you're pretty much mirror images on totally different scenarios, and then I was cutting back and forth between that, and sort of culminating at a place where you can sort of, if you think hard, and if you want to think hard, then you'll probably get what I'm trying to say. I mean, when it comes to Brown, my second feature film that I've just finished. Um, it was not that kind of process. It was just a totally different thing. It was a story of a brown immigrant in America who doesn't have a home, and is being chased by ICE, which is the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And then he stumbled upon a very young girl who doesn't have a home, a young white girl. And then how it is through them we ask ourselves the question of what it means to have a home and what it means to be an immigrant. So in some ways she is doesn't have a place to be in her own land that she is in, and in somewhere that reflects his life also, that he probably have lived whole life like that. So it came from that place, and so it doesn't have that kind of a complicated back and forth structure. So yeah, this is amazing. My both, like my stylistic approach is totally opposite. When it comes to Unfreedom and Brown is so minimalist, it's just kind of much slower pace, sort of a minimalist film than compared to Unfreedom.
Yeah. So I've seen one thing, that the use of metaphors specifically, like the Muslim fundamentalist actually falls into the same trap. He becomes the same person who has been like who actually turned him into one, right? So do we get to see the same thing in Brown, or like have you used? What are your thoughts on emphasizing the metaphors in a story?
No, I don't know. When I'm making Brown, I left Unfreedom behind. It's sort of the same stories and same. Once you have dealt with one idea and one expression, you're done with it, right? I mean, you have exhausted yourself with that kind of thought.
Yeah.
So Brown is a different film, right? It's a totally different film with totally different ideas and trying to say something new. But yes, I mean, Unfreedom, it was the victim becoming the victimizer, right? That was sort of one key thing, and that we see so much around us when it comes to violence, right?
Yeah.
So no, I'm not carrying my Unfreedom memories while going into making Brown. Yeah.
So in terms of filmmaking, so how hard was it for you to shoot kissing scenes in India, like in a place like Delhi, in front of the Akshardham temple? And it was like quite a tough managing public and all that, and a lot of controversy that created, not only among the people but also the censorship board, for the fight for which you are famous for. And how hard was it? How different was it, filming in India versus filming in America? And yeah.
So like we are having this issue today with a suitable boy that they're kissing in front of temple. We did that earlier. We had enough problem because of that. I think my film had so much more that the kissing wasn't. The censor board didn't get to the kissing part. They had so much other to deal with.
Yeah.
So kissing wasn't the highlight of what they were offended by. There was so much more that they were so concerned about. They wanted to chop the whole climax of the films.
Yeah.
They wanted to chop so many things. I don't really, frankly, I don't even remember them really getting to the kissing part because the other list was too long. So it was pretty interesting to do that scene in front of Akshardham. It was a stolen sequence, right? I mean, I think Herzog says that filmmakers, you have to kind of be thieves. I kind of believe in that. If you're a guerrilla filmmaker, you have to be more so of that. And so we couldn't have got permission or anything to do that kind of stuff. It was all about like let's put the camera far away. Let not anybody know that this is even happening. Tell our actors, go there, make this happen. We'll take the shot and we'll run away from this place. It was that kind of
Totally
thing. Like, we were just prepared to run away as quickly as possible before other problems
authorities came in.
Happen. And I think it wasn't just one shot. So then again, it was little tricky. So so when the shot happened in wide, we also wanted it in close. So it happened in wide. Nobody kind of noticed. We said, okay, we got a little bit bolder. Okay, like now we're gonna go close and shoot it. But it was fun. It was fun. Sometimes you know doing these. I mean, that's what filmmaking is. That's what makes it
Adventurous and
fun, right? Exciting. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So, like, did you face the same challenges in while filmmaking and filming in America and doing all that speech thing, which was totally related to Islam, preferably? And
Right. No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
okay,
So uh, my personal experiences with America in terms of censorship are pretty fine. I mean, I never faced any issues like that. Filming was easy. New York, were shooting in New York. It's so much shooting friendly. You know, no such problems. I mean, and Brown again. I mean, Brown is much much more of a guerrilla film than Unfreedom. It's much more such a less budget. Uh, Everybody knew actors, and the whole community in Montana. We shot in Butte, Montana.
yeah,
Really came together, helping us to make the Brown, and I'm so grateful for that. No, we really didn't face much of those kind of challenges, like where to shoot. I mean, when it comes to Unfreedom, they were just like one after another roadblocks. I mean, to shoot the sequences that we shot on that little island. I mean, I remember that evening where we had just shot that, and we were in these little boats, and they were not even motorboats. So like we were just using hands, and then the whole village. I mean, I don't know where, like 100 people were jumping in water trying to grab the actresses and all that kind of stuff. We were like, what the hell is happening here? And so it was scary. It was scary. I'll never forget Unfreedom experience of making that film, and then all the other problems that we faced later on.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to ask, like, your films, I have only watched Unfreedom till now. So including Brown, how far is it from the mainstream cinema? If we consider Bollywood, or let's say Unfreedom was mostly in English, right? So how far is it from the mainstream cinema compared to the storytelling and
I mean, I think it's as far that mainstream won't greenlight it. So I mean, then it's just pretty far, right? I mean, look, there are many reasons mainstream films get greenlit, right? I mean, it's just not because of the subject, right? I mean, all other factors. But I think when you're telling a story that is just difficult, that you cannot put it in a genre or in a particular box. It's just a new kind of a story, new kind of a statement. And then if it's a difficult statement, right? If it's about serious issue handled seriously, it just doesn't have all the kind of masala that a mainstream film needs to be sold. Then it's just even more difficult. So I guess first, both these films, from a mainstream perspective, they just weren't going to get greenlit. So and there are so many untold stories out there, and that's what I like to say. Like for me, more and more so now, after having done two, I mean, I like to say, Dark Frames, our company is more about telling untold stories, right? I mean, and if that's what we're not doing, no matter, we get to make. I mean, I'm now commissioned to make a web series in India, which is pretty mainstream. But if you can't go back as a filmmaker, keep telling these untold important stories, then you ask yourself, what are you doing as a filmmaker, right? And at least I do. At least I do. I am attracted to stories that are difficult to tell, that share a new perspective, that can probably raise questions and allow for conversations, difficult conversation that we usually would not have. That's the kind of cinema that attracts me, and I want to keep making.
So you love challenges in storytelling and challenges in shooting even. So what kind of challenge are you expecting from the Indian audience while when your new movie Brown will be released? And from the censorship board specifically.
I don't know. Again, Brown would be, Brown will come out in India. I mean, through censor board, and look, Brown doesn't possibly have that kind of because again, Brown addresses it doesn't really address Indian audience, right? In that sense, right? It is, though the issue of immigration is poignant worldwide in today's date. I mean, I never thought that we will be in India dealing with CAA, NRC, all this kind of nonsense. I never imagined, until now, that we will be talking about that we have immigrants in India that needs to be thrown out. I mean, where the hell that conversation came from? So it is very clear that came from a certain political agenda to divide us further, right? And so this immigrant idea, it's a worldwide phenomena right now. So from that perspective, Brown is a film for everywhere, right? But it's a film in English, it's set in America, and it has nudity and it has other things. And so I just don't know Indian censor board has the guts to digest it. I just, and those are simple things. I mean, I don't even see too much of but they just don't. They have a stick up their ass so deep that they just can't. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But again, like to say, I mean, I really don't. At least until now, I haven't thought about, like, sat down in a corner and think about who is my audience before making the film. I didn't do that with Unfreedom. I didn't do that with Brown. It was an idea that really excited me and turned me on to make a film, and I just pursued that. I think now I'm thinking, who's the audience? Now we're trying to figure out who's the audience.
Yeah, but considering that since India is also talking about immigration and all, your movie might actually be, taken well by the audience, right? Considering that, yeah, I think, So, thanks a lot, sir, for doing this podcast with me. It's the first podcast of the channel, and it's an honor to talk with you. And there's a lot to learn from you. So, thank you for spending the Sunday evening with me.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Bye.